Hey guys, Snupy here. So if you've been doing any PvP so far in 10.2, you've probably noticed one spec that's been way more played than any other, and I'm of course talking about Demon Hunter, Havoc Demon Hunter. I actually have it myself. His name is DH Awareness. Of course, his misspelling is on purpose, surely. But yeah, this spec has been busted. The graphs show it as well. You can see here. There's the EU shuffle above 2-1. Yeah, check this right here. The purple is of course Havoc. And you can see over or almost 60% of the melees is one spec. You take about 20 lower specs, stack them on each other, and it still won't even be close to how many Demon Hunters are on the ladder. It's been insane, but good news. We just got some new tunings right here. I'm going to go over these right now. These are coming into effect next weekly maintenance. So Tuesday for NA, Wednesday for EU. Let's go through it. Also going to show in game the different abilities that are being nerfed and kind of how it will affect it, and also certain specs that are being buffed, like Shadow Priest. So let's get into it. Alright, so I've logged into the DH kind of to go into more details about the changes they're doing and also how they will affect it. By the way, I played DH for 1 day so far, and we got 1802s the first day. I don't know how to play this spec. I just pressed buttons and we got it basically instantly within a few hours. So that is something, kind of tells you how strong this spec is. But yeah, now let's go through the changes here. So yeah, Blizzard basically acknowledging player feedback and such. And then here are the tunings we're getting. So, first off, on Holy DK, actually a spec has also been dominating. I think this is the second strongest spec, at least second strongest melee in the game. But it's kind of been in the shadow of Havoc. But yeah, Death Coil damage now increased by 7% PP, was 90. See a nice little nerf here on Death Coil. Not sure how much this will matter overall. But I think Unholy is a spec that also needs to be looked at, especially after the Havoc nerfs, which we're going to get to now. So, first things first on Havoc. Yeah, inertia damage bonus reduced to 12%, was 18% in PvP combat. That is the talent right here. Basically, after using your, what's it called? Immolation Aura, and then using your Fell Rush, you get inertia, which increases your damage by 18 seconds. You can have crazy uptime on this. Pretty much like up always. So yeah, that being nerfed by a good 6% should be pretty noticeable overall, especially in effect with these other tunings. We got the Kree damage being reduced by 20% in PvP combat. This is the Curion ability right here. I've actually hit this. I've hit 360,000 with this spell. So I think it's still going to be hitting way too much even after this nerf, but it does help. And of course, also with the inertia is kind of overall. The Hunt initial and periodic damage reduced by 30% PP was 20. So again, not like a crazy amount more nerfed than it was, but I think all these three will definitely kind of add on each other. But the Hunt also hits really, really hard. Throw Glaive damage reduced by 10% PvP combat. You know, that's a bit, guys, like 10% might not seem the most, but I think if taking it all together with the inertia nerf, it should be noticeable, and hopefully we'll kind of knock it down a bit. So Essence Spray damage bonus reduced to 50%, was 65% PvP combat. So small nerf to the damage, but small 15% on the damage bonus to Essence Break. Also should be quite noticeable. And then Fell Barrage reduced by 20%, which is quite a bit more. Fell Barrage did some pretty insane damage. I think like this is a spell that's not going to be kind of fine. It's not going to be too bursty. But of course, it's all these things combined that made it so insane. But yeah, so overall, some pretty significant nerfs to DH. I think more will be needed, to be honest. I think what they're doing here is taking more of a slow approach to it, nerfing it a bit, instead of going all out instantly and going like, you know, 40% like insta. But I do think they might like nudge these things down, like 10 more percent or even 15 on some of the spells, especially like Decree. You know, if it hit for 360k, it's still gonna hit for a lot, even if you have it nurtured or nerf and a 20% nerf on the spell itself. Now on to Wrestle Druid, the strongest healer in the game. I think everyone can agree to that, at least in certain brackets. Disc also very, very good, but I think Wrestle does take the cake, especially with the Trent's healing, which they do actually touch on now. So Life Flume periodic healing decreased by 12% PvP combat. That is very, very good. Grove Guardians Nourish healing decreased by 15% in PvP combat. Then we have Grove Guardian's health decreased by 66%. Sorry, guys, this is late. My brain is kind of mush. But yeah, so this one should be quite noticeable. Like, the nerfs they're doing is insane. If I stun an R-Druid and I have full cooldowns, he's nothing and he's no trinkets, sometimes just the trench healing him will save him. And I think these two overall, also then they more squishy, should knock Drew down a bit. But again, like DH, it's not going to make it bad, all right? It's still probably going to be the best healer in the game, if I had to guess, or at least kind of close there with Disc. So still going to be insane. Now, Hunter. first. Rapid-fire damage increased by 20% PP, was 40%. So this just kind of offsets the tear set the Hunters are getting. Let me show that right now. Hunter. So MM's 2 set actually increases damage, rapid-fire deals by 20%. And also, you know, makes it do some more stuff as well. But the important thing is the 20%. So it's basically offsetting the nerf to, or the buff rather, with the 2 sets, which is very good because even without 2 sets, it is still doing so much damage, probably too much damage. So that's still going to be insane. Then we have the 4-piece, not costing your next rapid-fire to fire 40% additional bolts, was 60%. So I think tear set's still going to be insane. Still going to be very, very strong. Even though they are nerfing the tear set a bit. Or, you know, this is like not a direct tear set nerf, but it's basically in response to the tear set. Arcane shot damage increased by 35% PP, was 25, which is fine. I think Chimera shot damage increased by 35, was 25. I think like these like small buffs won't do much for the damage at all, but it's probably nice kind of shifting damage into some different abilities, at least in a minor way. Okay, now we have Holy Pala. So it's a healer that's been struggling so far this season. Last season they were very, very good. They kind of got hit down like quite a bit with some mana nerfs and some general nerfs, and also other healers coming to or rising up basically. So yeah, some mana regen buff. I think it's gonna make him better. Probably not quite in line with most other healers just yet, but I think Holy Palace should be quite happy with this because they're not going to go as fast. And now, a very cool one, Shadow Priest gets buffed by 8% on all abilities in PvP combat. SP has been struggling. I think it's not been too bad. The meta has been quite rough for it though, and I think this, in addition with like the DH nerfs, will make SP a lot more viable in the meta. So if you have an SP, this might be the time to pick it up. I've actually been playing some Shadow Priest Freljord and 2s recently, and it's been a blast with Mboni. So I'm very happy to see that. Mind Trauma's duration reduced to 15 seconds, was 20 seconds. So, I mean, I guess it's a slight nerf, but not too big of a deal. Now, on to Mage. Blast Wave now snares by 50% for 6 seconds, was 70% in PvP combat. Okay, then we have Arcane. I guess Arcane, by the way, is really, really strong right now. I think it's going a bit under the radar, but players like Seavark, great Arcane Mage, Ranked Arcane Mage, I think, really kind of makes it work. And he also says that is one of the strongest specs in the game, but it's always a bit of a more niche spec. Chrono Shift now increased move speed by 25%, was 50. So this is good. They were so hard to connect to. Should be nice to have him be a bit slower now. Temporal Shield now heals for 6% damage taken over 4 seconds, was 100%. So also some defensive nerfs. I think Arcane probably had this coming, to be honest. It's nothing too bad though, but yeah, we take those. So Fire. Ignite damage increased by 20% PvP combat. This one, I don't quite get. I've not seen that many Fire Mages, but I feel like this was already doing so much damage. Fireball damage increased by 30%, was 12%. Scorch damage increased by 100%, was 45%. Guys, this worries me. I feel like Fire was already doing so much damage. I don't think damage is what Fire needed. Glass Camp PvP talent now increases damage of Ignite, Fireball, and Scorch by 40%, was 100%. Okay, so now it makes a bit more sense when I read this. Alright, so basically what they're doing is making Glass Cannon a bit less needed, which is probably a good thing, honestly. Okay, so that does make sense when you read it all. Basically, making the need for Glass Cannon smaller but it's going to be less damage overall than a mage currently playing glass cannon. So a fire mage doing it. So they're going to be a bit more tanky, have a bit more HP, and probably spec into a different talents. We take those. I think it's pretty good. Frost. Flurry damage increased by 20% was 8% in PvP combat. Okay. I think Frost probably is the weakest mage spec right now, so I think they are due for some buffs. Frost damage increased by 75% in PvP was 30% in PvP. Frost Bomb, PvP talent, damage increased by 80%. Ice Lance damage increased by 35%. Common Storm damage increased by 40%. Freezing Winds now grants Fingers of Frost every 5 seconds was 3 seconds. Frozen Orb damage increased. No, Frozen Orb damage now, so 5% chance to grant Fingers of Frost was 10. Okay, so a little bit of a nerf there towards the end, but I think Frost will be happy with this. I'm actually not quite sure how the Frost damage breakdown is right now, but this seems pretty good for him. Okay, dude, now we have Mr. Monk, Fistweaver Monks. Rising Sun Kick damage decreased by 35%, and 36% was 20%, so nerf to fist weaving there. Blackout Kick, Teachings of Monastery, damage decreased by 25%. Damage decreased means also healing decreased for fist weavers. Tiger Ball damage increased by 20% in PvP combat. Ancient Teachings now transfers 275% damage done was 220. Guys, to be honest, man, I'm not quite sure how to read this overall. So maybe if you're a Fistweaver main, can help me out on this one, but I'm assuming it's transfers to healing. That seems like a buff potentially to, like, in some ways with Tiger Palm. Guys, maybe no, never mind. Tiger Palm got also nerfed. Okay, guys, I need a Fistweaver to kind of help me out, fix this, sort it out. If there's a big buff or kind of like neutral now, but just kind of taking away some of the damage and putting more to Ancient Teachings. So kind of similar healing, but less damage. Then we have Astral Rogue. Kingsbane initial Imperial damage now reduced by 20%, was 11%. This thing can do so much damage. A good nerf right here. Then Outlaw Crackshot now causes between the eyes to dispatch target for 50%, was 75% of normal damage when used from stealth. Okay, so slight nerf to Outlaw there. Outlaw spec as well has been doing so well. Subtly, Perforated Veins damage bonus reduced by 40%, was 50% PvP combat. And then Gormoss bite damage reduced by 10%. Gives you Gormoss as well. Ability hits so hard. So yeah, some nerfs to Sub Rogue. Then last up we have Elemental Shaman. Lightning Bolt now deals 67% increased damage in PvP combat. Was 45%. Chain Lightning now deals 50% increased damage in PvP combat. Ice Sphere damage now increased by 85% in PvP combat. I guess Ice Sphere didn't really do much damage. I played some edit last season actually. And then Volcanic Surge now increased the damage of Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt by 30%. Was 50%. So nerf to Surge, but kind of buff to it overall. I don't think like these changes will affect Ellie heavily, but there it is. So yes, there are the tunings coming. I think overall good stuff. Of course, the most needed thing was the DH stuff. Hopefully it's going to be enough. I feel like this is going to crank. No change to Feral. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they nerfed our bites a bit, like the new talent. But I'm happy they didn't. And also, I would love to see some buffs to Feral survivability. This, of course, bias my Feral main. But yeah. Overall, though, I think good changes. Nice to see actually some changes coming through, because for moments we were scared there were not going to be any. They were just kind of silent. So, good to see. And yeah, take care.